What is the most interesting thing you know? Squirrels can fill their tails with blood, which they then wave behind them when facing a predator, like a snake. The heat from the blood in the tail makes the squirrel look larger than it is to the snake that sees in for it. I do this with my tail too. John Tyler, the 10th President of the United States, still has 2 living grandsons. For a little more perspective, John Tyler was born in 1790. Spiny dogfish congregate in huge schools and have a natural mortality of less than 0.05. The only thing that really kills them is Britain's need for fish and chips. Fish and chips is serious freaking business. We've been to war with Iceland 3 times over the matter, the Cod Wars. COD. Modern warfare. Probably boring as frick to a lot of people, but I think it's pretty damn interesting and it blows my mind occasionally. Chickens are racist. They will segregate themselves based on color if you have multiple chickens of multiple different colors. My family had chickens since I was maybe 2, and I first noticed this when I was about 12, and then I paid attention. It's very prevalent. However, it seems you have to have at least 3 of 2 different colors of chicken, sometimes a couple more. If there's only a couple of each color, they all get along. The implications this has about the workings of a chicken's mind are actually rather important, as it suggests they are at least capable of understanding the concept of self and compare their own self-image to the images of other chickens around them. Freaking blows my mind. Oh shit son, this must be why my neighbor's white chickens killed the new brown chicken. I saw a Ku Klux Klan meeting in action. I promise, that story is real, and that joke is bad. Chickens are just freaking evil. My parents have about 20 on their farm. They had a hen sitting on some eggs and when they hatched, that bitch stomped them flat like pancakes. Another time they had a real cool rooster, but one day the bitches decided they didn't like him. They freaking killed him. Also had a real badass rooster. He got in a fight with a dog, and won. He didn't kill the dog, but scared him off. But the dog got him pretty bad. Had a huge hole in his back and you could see his freaking kidneys. Rooster didn't give a frick. He was back to rooting hens the next day. We had like 9 roosters at one point, with about 15 hens. But the roosters all decided one hen was the sexiest. So they gang raped her continuously 4 days until she had no feathers on her back or the back of her head. Sounds like Jersey Shore. Water towers are there to control water pressure, not to store water. SimCity lied to me. A group of ferrets is called a business. Ants take slaves. The Concorde, when it was operational, would fly across the Atlantic supersonic. However, if it was a hot day at the departure airport, luggage would be sent subsonic to save weight. So you would get there, however your luggage would be 4 hours behind. If I had paid thousands of pounds for a supersonic transatlantic flight, I would damn well expect my freaking luggage to arrive with me. I got a chance to fly it right before it went out of service. They would send the luggage to your hotel if you asked. So what was the flight like? Was it as awesome as all of us imagine it to be? It was really just like any other British Airways transatlantic flight, only shorter. I was only 13 at the time, but I remember being very cold. No idea if that was just the one particular flight or if all the aircraft's cabins were kept colder. Stegosaurus lived twice as long ago as Tyrannosaurus. In Tyrannosaurus's time, there were Stegosaurus fossils in the ground that were as old as T-Rex fossils are today. But how did the T-Rex dig them up with those tiny arms? In Mandarin Chinese, a colloquialism for I'm coming or I'm hurrying is I'm on a horse. Whoa, didn't think this would get so popular. Here are a few other tidbits. Coming can have the same sexual connotation as in English. In the throes of ecstasy, it would not be inappropriate to say I'm coming on a horse. I guess this makes sense even in our culture. When someone wants you to chill out, they tell you to hold your horses. Like, hey buddy, put down the reins, we aren't going anywhere yet. Also, their generic cheer is add oil. Well, the word in that context means gas, like put more gas in it. Or step on the gas. And step on the gas in Romanian is give it some fur. Your peripheral vision is largely, if not entirely, black and white. Your brain fills in what colors it thinks should be there. Charlie Chaplin entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest and came third. Now that's a story. Take a deck of cards and shuffle it. There are more possible orders than there are atoms in our solar system. I know it's been posted before, but as a follow-up, the odds suggest that a good shuffle will yield a combination permutation of cards that has never before existed in the universe. 52. You're like a reverse wolf from Alpha. 81 vigintillion, 658 vigintillion, 175 novemdecillion, 170 octodecillion, 943 septendecillion, 878 sexdecillion, 571 quindecillion, 660 quatrdecillion, 636 tridecillion, 856 duodecillion, 403 undecillion, 766 decillion, 975 nonillion, 289 octillion, 505 septillion, 446 stillion, 883 quintillion, 277 quadrillion, 824 trillion. I learned about a week ago that chinchillas have the second densest fur, second to otters, and that if you got them fully wet, the fur nearest their skin would take an age to dry, because so little air gets to it. I have made it my mission to tell one person per day, and today, Reddit, it's you. The fur nearest their skin would take an age to dry. How long is an age? The amount of time it takes for the fur nearest a chinchilla's skin to dry. Thanks for clearing that up. Nobody has ever dared to get one wet to find out. In all seriousness, I'm not entirely sure. The guy who told me had never washed his chinchilla, that is. The sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon, yet it also about 400 times farther away. So, in the sky they appear to be roughly same size. That's why we can have solar eclipses where the moon can just barely cover the entire sun. And, as far as we know, at least, as far as I know, our planet is the only planet we know of that can experience this phenomenon. So, a million years into the future when we meet aliens and shit, everybody is going to come to our planet to check that out. It'll be basically the same as driving to the Grand Canyon. However, the moon is gradually spinning away from us, so if these aliens don't make it here soon enough, then they'll never be able to properly experience the phenomenon. I hope one of them reads this. Upvoting so the aliens actually see this. They're notoriously pool redditors. Dude, there's one in the top corner of every post on Reddit. I'd say they're pretty on top of things. Zebras have one of the coolest fur colorings, configurations in the animal kingdom. A common theory is that the stripes of a zebra make it blend in with the herd, confusing predators. While a cool and easy to apply concept, it doesn't hold up very well since almost no other herd species have a similar tactic. I'm not saying it's not true, I'm just saying there is another reason I find more intriguing. The real magic comes with the colors themselves. What scientists discovered is that the sunlight beating down and being absorbed by the black stripes creates a big difference in surface temperature from the white stripes, which reflects most of that light, staying much cooler. As a result of these differences in temperature, and thus, pressure, a mini weather current is formed on the surface of the skin. This keeps a constant airflow over the animal, keeping it cooler in the extreme heat of its environment. People eat this one up with a spoon. Feel free to share. Cleopatra lived closer to the present day than she did to the building of the pyramids. This won't be true forever. Quickly, run and tell everyone you know before it's too late. Pac-Man was originally going to be called Puckman, but they changed it because they were afraid of vandals changing the P to an F. Now picturing you as Michael Cera. Oh yeah, you're the Pac-Man guy. No, that was some total ass. I was the other guy. Yeah, that's amazing. Am I dreaming? I'll leave you alone forever now. Thanks. The Great Bean Conspiracy. Coffee beans. Cocoa beans. Vanilla beans. Nana beans. But freaking peanuts. Peanuts are actually legumes, in the family Fabaceae, the pea bean family, so they aren't beans either. Oh yeah, the classic Fabaceae sequence of beans. Tim Allen used to deal cocaine. and took the squeal on your team for a lower sentence avenue of the prisoner's dilemma. And he's a no good snitch. I know that at one point you, Rizin, were the youngest person in the world. Rizin is baby Diego? Baby Diego. I mean, come on, the guy's a wanker. But he was the youngest wanker on earth. When Van Halen first started touring, David Lee Roth insisted on having a clause in their contract that said that in their dressing room they had to have a bowl of M&Ms, and all the brown ones had to be removed. I think it was brown if I recall correctly. If it wasn't there, they didn't play the show. Some people think this is just typical rock star excess, but it was actually pretty clever. Van Halen toured in smaller arenas at first, and they had a lot of elaborate stage equipment that needed to be handled in the proper way and set up very carefully. If the band arrived in the dressing room and didn't see the bowl of M&Ms with the brown ones removed, it was a warning sign to them that the owners of the venue didn't read the contract carefully enough, and it might not be safe for them or the audience to play the show. And there I am in a Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking for 1,000 brown M&Ms to fill a brandy glass, or Ozzy wouldn't go on stage that night. So, Jeff Beck pops his head round the door and mentions there's a little sweet shop on the edge of town. So, we go, and it's closed. So there's me, and Keith Moon, and David Crosby breaking into this little sweet shop, right? Well, instead of a guard dog, they've got this bloody great big Bengal tiger. Well, I managed to take out the tiger with a can of mace, bit the shop owner and his son. That's a different story altogether. I had to beat them to death with their own shoes. Nasty business really. But sure enough, I got the M&Ms and Ozzy went on stage and did a great show. After 2,604 comments, no one is going to read this, but Die Hard was originally a sequel to Commando. I read it.